Yes, we can.
Okay, stuff. All right. So I should be sharing my screen in some minutes, but I realized like Figma is having this maintenance in this issue they were I don't know. So I'm a bit conflicted to directly share the Figma file because my presentation slide is in Figma.
You
Or
can do that.
I don't know, it's loading now. Okay, let me just share the file and probably I'll just do a full screen. You have to bear with me. Uh,
Yes, you can actually share the file if that is what works best for now. So
no, like,
you don't have to share it in presentation mode.
yeah, I'll just confirm my semester and I'll probably try and make it full screen so that let me
Yes,
manage
we
the
can.
okay, good. Let me do something like see the mention. Alright. Yeah, confirm if you can see my screen again.
Yes, we can.
And I hope you are seeing what I want you to see.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi everyone. It feels so good to be here. I can't lie, even though I'm being nervous, because I'm not always, I don't know, maybe I'm not always the best speaking about design every time. Although I like talking about design, but now I'm in front of a lot of new people that I barely know. But yeah, uh, let me just do, before I start, I'll do a brief introduction of myself. Um, as Faye has mentioned earlier, my name is Timothy Ogundipe. Just call me Tim. A lot of my friends call me from, and I prefer that recording simple, straightforward. No need for like much introductions. But
Okay.
yeah, I work at Gray, and at Gray, what we do is to help make the remote work easy for professionals generally. I provide them with like array of tools that you can use to make that like make a remote process work. So this includes like a bank account, a foreign bank account, where you can that's domiciled in foreign currency, in a foreign in a foreign country, and then you get like an account where you can easily like receive money directly to it, and then you can also like send it to your local account. We have virtual cards, we have invoices, and you can just check the link they shared earlier, uh, Free.school, and be able to see lots of these things. And to myself, um, when I wanted to do this, I didn't know what to say about myself, to be fair. But in relation to this topic, I'll just like speak about like what I do at Grace and a lot of things I've done before that. So currently, my role at Gray is primarily onboarding and fraud detection. So this basically entails all of the designs responsible for onboarding users into Gray, onboarding new users into Gray, or in some cases where you want to get like some new information from old users in Gray, and also generally designing across like first touch points for users who see growth. So that includes the landing page, um, that includes all of like the first parties on the mobile app, on the web app, and yeah. So that is primarily my work. The KYC part, and then the fraud detection is basically working with like the compliance team to ensure that the app itself is compliant with like regulations, because we like offer our services to about 45 countries in Africa. So we have to be sure that the app is compliant, right? And then I work with the compliance team in that regard to design, like, to make design decisions that ensure like they were compliant. That includes like the mobile app, the web app, and also like maybe internal tools within the organization. And then before now, I've been able to work in like a lot of industries, finance, like I'm currently in, I work in e-commerce, B2B, B2C. I've done edtech, I've done healthcare product and hospitality industry. So yeah, that kind of like summarizes my entire experience. And I feel like that is probably the reason why I'll be speaking about like topic, um, designing for different cultures and audiences. So I would say this is a very interesting topic, especially because now this is more like you're speaking about designing globally for different people. And we understand that like as human beings, even though we are very similar in the way we are, there are a lot of complexities that like differentiates us from one another, that differentiate us within our own region, and then us like within ourselves, and then as in comparison to people in other regions as well. And then as designers, because we're designing products that are global, or we would be designing products that are global, we need to make sure to put different things into consideration and to ensure that the products that we're designing and the experience that we're designing for users in different regions are similar. And then the kind of experience that we're sharing, like that we're giving out from our products, or the experience that we intend for users that have access to our product, the kind of experiences I want for them, should ensure that irrespective of their region, is similar, and then they feel that the experience is tailored to them. So that's generally the point of like the conversation here. And at the end of this talk, uh, you should be sure to have like gotten three things. You should be able to understand why uh, every designer should be familiar with designing for different audiences and culture. And then you should be able to gain knowledge about localization. So during the course of like this talk, I would explain localization. Basically, just discusses this topic in general. That is what is professionally called, and then some best practices, some use cases generally across like the industry and how it works. Please confirm if you can hear me so far.
Yes, we can.
I stay here. Okay, perfect. All right. Um, moving on, I would like begin the talk here. I would like go further into the talk with this quote from Harvard Business Review, HBR. When it comes to consumer markets, one size no longer fits all. And that is the point of everything that this talk is going to be about, right? You are designing different users in different regions, have different culture, have different languages, have different kind of apps that they are used to, have different kind of user patterns. And initially, like you see that apps that are designed, you probably just have one, probably in English, right? And irrespective of where the customers are, you come into the app, and maybe tiny changes here and there, maybe because of when you're making payment or something, right? You want to make payments maybe in your local currency, and in Nigeria's case, sometimes you have to go and look for a dollar card. And now, because now like there are a lot of regions where internet has penetrated, and then different kind of people are visiting different kind of sites that are even far away from their own like local area, we start realizing that the experience is not like the same for everybody, and the one size, the one website that you have is no longer a fit for all of the user types that you're servicing. And then that becomes a problem. That could lead to like maybe drop off in some cases. People already added stuff to their cards, they're trying to pay. They can't pay because they can't pay in their own local currency. They're not integrating with probably a provider from their own side, and like various instances like that. So although those are like engineering issues, but like in this talk will be majorly design. And I feel like this talk probably be useful to designers as well as content designers or UX writers. And yeah, so a bit into like some metrics to like give us a lot of context into this the issue of like designing for different audiences. So 9% of new newcomers, sorry, that's tautology. New internet like users try to speak English. Now, I think when I was like preparing for this and I saw like this particular metric, it was a bit like mind blowing, especially because a lot of times we design like a lot of our sites in English, and now what we're seeing now is like new people that are getting into the internet, 9%, that is even less than 1/4 of people, like new internet users, speak English. And like that's about 91% people that are not served by your site when you don't what's it called, consider them in your design. Same thing, 25.9% of online content is in English. As much as maybe because of where we are, and then because we have like a lot of languages, and we're now like, okay, the lingua franca is English, and everyone tries to speak English. In a way, it kind of might give us like a tunnel vision where we start thinking that like English is like the safest go-to option when we are designing, because of course that is what serves our users. I mean, yes, it serves our users. However, like on the global context, that might not be the case, right? Yeah. So as much as I've been speaking a lot about like language, I've been speaking a lot about like English in relation to other languages, but then designing for various culture and audiences is way more than language. It's way more than language translation, where maybe you have your site and then you translate it into depending on the of course depending on the, like customer type you're servicing within your company, where you now start dividing it and then you start translating directly to their local language, and then in the end you feel like you've been able to consider them, right? Uh, it is way more than that, and like that is what will bring you to the idea of like localization. Localization. So this is, I'll say, is a word that encompasses all of what this is about, right? And a brief definition of that basically is localization refers to adapting a product to function and appeal to a specific international market. It's emphasizing ensuring the same experience within a product across several markets. Several markets, yeah. So localization primarily is just speaking to the the process of adapting like a product, whatever product it is, whatever solution you're offering to customers, adapting it to function and appeal to whatever market you're servicing, right? Irrespective of like where they are, or like their region or their culture, right? So you are making sure that all of these design decisions you make is tailored towards each of those specific international markets, right? So now, if you are designing, say, for an area, a region, maybe like where they speak English, I'm still going to language now, like differently they speak more like into other aspects. You're going like where they speak English now, you know that the experience you are designing there, building it from the ground up, ensuring that it fits into their language and their style. If you are not going to the Asian markets, you make sure that it fits into their language, it fits into their style, it fits into their culture. And in the process of doing that, you're ensuring that all of the experience that you're designing for each of those markets is streamlined. Right? So that is basically what localization is about. And as I've said earlier, it is more than just the language. It is more than just the language. It's more than just. I will just be touching like three key areas that I feel like this this really matters, right? The other parts, but then I'm just going to be speaking about like this three, right? Because I feel like they are like the key parts of it. So language, I've said that a lot of times. This is usually like the first indicator. So when you get to a site and then you start seeing like different languages, when you start seeing, like when you get to the site, the first thing you see is you begin to read all of the text on it, and then you begin to understand that okay, this is in my language, and then like that's the best touch point for understanding and pitching to whatever customer base that you have. And this covers translation, this covers tone and style. Same compliance. Compliance in relation to the local legal requirements of that area of that region or that area, right? And culture, so cultural appropriateness. So this is also like this is referring generally to the way of life of the people there, obviously. And then you are ensuring that your decision, the decisions you are making, the design decisions you are making are culturally appropriate. You don't do things that begin to like offend their culture, that might be offensive to their culture, just because you lack context into what their culture is like. All right. From all of these three things, you see that for language and culture, that is a bit more contextual and compliance too in a way, but then it is more objective because like it is specific to the law of like the region. So all you have to do is within your team, depending on like how it works, the team is usually they are usually like compliance teams, right? They do all of the work of studying, keeping up with the laws of this region, and ensuring that all of the information that is required from the users, all of the text that are on the site are in line with the local laws of that area. So they share with the designer and then you just update or you just make sure that whatever decision you're making is in line with that. Typically for language as well, an example within grade, the way we do it is like we have like people from like some of the regions we service. When we do like some of our work, we end up checking it, like they check it out and then translate. We share with them, obviously, try to make sure that we keep them, we share, as we're sharing, we're giving them like contextual knowledge, right? So that they understand exactly what all of those texts implies. And sometimes when they see it in the design as well, it gives like context into how it should be, and then it helps with the translation. And then they go through it and they'll go through it, test with them, and then make changes when necessary. And that covers for language and culture. So I will just try and touch like some of the common like challenges that you might face in like while you are doing some of all of these changes. So as I said earlier, in relation to language, translation. So in the course of translation, there are usually like languages that are sometimes 50% longer than English, or in some cases 30% shorter, like Chinese or a lot of like the Asian languages in writing. They're usually shorter than English. But then when you start looking at Russian or German, right, you see how like they can be longer than English. And I was just like painting an example here where you have a recipe app where like the text obviously works very fine. It works very fine in English, but like in the process of translating, you realize that some of them get longer. So typically, like in code, within teams that are like into like localization, right? Usually, a lot of like the text that will be translated are usually stored as string IDs. String IDs like strings, like this text, right? And then when conversion is happening, it's translated directly, like the strings themselves are the ones that are translated. So because like ideally you cannot translate the actual code because it's machine language, obviously, and it is the only language computer understands. So you can't translate it to like a local language. But all of these things are what you translate. So they are moved into another file and then they are translated. And the process of translating, you start seeing like some of the issues like this, where you have long text that are longer than what you have, right? Or they're longer than what you have, and then you need to like begin to like make changes. So typical way this could have been solved is obviously it could be translated into something like shorter. And in this case, however, I think it would touch. Okay, yeah, I'm going to be the in this case, however, when you're making like all of those between translation, you have to make sure that you maintain and retain the context in which those words are used, so that you're not translating something else entirely from what's there, right? And that comes in like the process of communication with whoever is in charge of translating, so that you could retranslate, or you could just use responsive cards that the heights might change, it might shrink, or it might expand in relation to the content. I think like auto layout gives us that all these capabilities. Then another example here is one. This is directly from material design. I added this first. I just probably just saved because of the marking. So this was from material design, and you will see here, ideally, the typical button takes a single line. All right. Okay, the typical button takes a single line, and however, for this, because in the course of translation, it takes double line, and this works because you see like within the language, and you just make sure that it fits in, and then in a way see visually balanced. So these are like some of the issues in as it relates to language, text expansion and contraction, and yet context is king. So this is like very important when it comes to language translation, because like a simple translation of a simple like a wrong translation can like change the entire meaning of whatever like a section on your platform. The typical way you can see this is probably like even in like Nigerian language, like the way we use omo. Like omo means everything, omo means nothing. But like in the context you use it, that is when you know, okay, this food is very terrible. Omo, the person will agree with you, this food is very terrible. Omo, this person will agree with you still, or they're disagreeing. Omo, this is tap, like all of that kind of stuff. The context in which language is used is what like determines its meaning. And that is why when you are communicating with language teams or like translators, you have to make sure you are expressing exactly what the text there means, so that you translate directly. A typical example of this, which is like not like in our own language, is normal French and then Canadian French. As much as they are similar, but like a lot of the things there, they're still like contextual. Then another case where we have like this, which is really huge, is for languages where typically we write from left to right, but like languages like Arabic where they write from right to left, right? So you have to also consider that in your design if you are designing for users in that region. So this is also from material design, and like you would see how this even affect the design layout. So typically for those English users or people who write from left to right, you see the names, you see the text, you see the layouts of like the pictures and where everything is, right? You can see it. But in this case, because they are coming from right to left, it affects the layout, it affects the structure generally. I mean, it's still similar to what we have here. However, you are making considerations for the local or like the local way of writing in like these areas. So that is one of that case. Another typical example is like this. I think this was one that we had like agree as well. So For Nigerian users, we realized that at the time when we were using like last name, first name and last name, you still see some people like mixing it up, right? They put in maybe their first name for their last name. And so for like our Nigerian customer, we just use first name and surname so that you know, okay, this is your surname and then this is your last name. And in some cases, you see people that switch this interchange between gender and sex. I mean, linguists might say like they're very different. But some people like still mix it up, and then you have to make consideration for that. Then this. So this. I wanted to bring in like some of the screens from work for when I get to be really messy. So features and KYC requirements, because of the laws within different regions, it might not let you like offer some services to those regions. Some services that you generally offer on maybe in other regions, you might not be able to offer it in these regions because of their laws, and that might then affect your future use in these regions. Same thing with like KYC requirement, like all of the requirements you have them like doing onboarding, right? You like, because you have a compliance team, they'll obviously share that with you. You might not go through the stress of having to be the one to read up the laws, having to be the one to read up on the changes. Like every time the government drops a new like initiative or like the central bank does a new requirement. But based on like those regions, Nigeria, for example, you can see sometimes initially maybe giving out virtual Naira accounts. You could just get the users' names, you could get their name, their address. But now, and BVN you could not because it wasn't necessarily a requirement from the provider. But now, you start seeing it's coming like again where you want to get a virtual account, you have to put in your BVN. But that might not be the case for maybe other people outside, like because not in their local currency. They might not need to put in something like a bank verification number. So all of these things then begin to affect the number of information you ask the user during like the onboarding process, the documents you get, maybe utility bills to be their proof of address, or passports for identity verification, driver's license. At some point, NIN sometimes used for identity verification. And then you see sometimes they don't take it in some places, depending on the services you're offering, just because of like compliance issues, local laws in different places. So that's another thing to consider. So when you are designing for audiences in different areas, you have to be sure of their law, be sure of the information that you're supposed to require. Because generally, companies get closed down because of things like this. The government in that region chooses to do a check into your company, and then they realize that you're not, you are making decisions that are not compliant to their law, and then they just close you in that region. Just probably because you're not getting people's BVN. Might look very smoothly, but then a lot might happen because, I mean, compliance violations have like very, very huge repercussion. So that is also one of the things you need to consider. Then as it relates to culture is a bit deeper than this, I'll be honest, but I'm like just trying to pick things that are like a bit straightforward. Culture can be like in form of like the way you use some words, right? The way you use some words in different places, or even colors that you use. Some places the way red is generally acceptable for passion, some they see it as demonic or as a bad omen, and then you have to put that into consideration as well. In this case, it's like data format, so it's some country primarily they use dates, month, year, as we use it here in Nigeria. I know that places they use month, date, year. You have to also be sure that you are doing that because now when customers begin to fill in their details, they just use like their default what's it called? Which like subconscious. So they use their subconscious and then they just feel it because that's what they are used to. And then they are beginning to have like wrong information in your database. Or some people might begin to type in like some dates, maybe months now, maximum is 12, and then they're typing in maybe 23, and then you're seeing that it's like your system is not taking it, and then you get off from your budget process because of that, and they're wondering what's wrong. So this is also like something you should put into consideration. In e-commerce cases as well, the way different people name their like own address, you see people that use address, apartments, postal code, city. Like in Nigeria, we use streets, your city, your streets, your state, and all of those things. And in other places, you see them using like city, province, which is also like can be states, right? And then, but like you have to just make sure that you're using the local term that they're using that is used to describe in such areas, so that you get the right information and so that you don't confuse them. And confusion is also like you have a lot, you will most likely have a negative effect on the experience for customers. People get tired of things very easily just because of minor inconveniences. So that as well, like, is a consideration. All right. I think I've been able to touch like all of the theory and then giving like specific examples in this case for all of this theory that I mentioned here: language, compliance, and culture. And yeah, that basically wraps it up. That wraps up like that. I think I should just do a quick recap of this. I should do a quick recap of this. I've spoken about like what it means to design for different regions, and I've related it to localization, which refers to like making sure the experience across different platforms is the same, right? And I've explained how it is not just about the language. There are language considerations in relation to translation, in relation to tone, and in relation to like style of use of the language. There are compliance issues, there are compliance considerations as well, where they are considering the local laws of the area, and then there are cultural appropriateness issues in terms of the language we use, in terms of like data formats, the dates could be addressed, and like considerations like that. Please let me know if anybody has any question. That like wraps up the talk basically. Let me know if you have any question. And just please your answer for it.
All right, Timothy, thank you very much for this. This has been very, very insightful. Thanks for taking our time. I love your slides, by the way. Like, I'm obsessed. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Guys, please, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box. If you don't know how to express yourself properly in the chat box, you can just unmute your mic and ask your question. But then I have like some questions, right, for you. So now, right, as a product designer, like, have you had any challenges? Because at the beginning you were talking about your different experiences and the different industries that you have worked in. Have you had any challenges like transitioning between working in different what's the name, in different industries, and also even within the same industry, like what has the experience been like, and just to shed more light, right? So I want to assume that this is not the first fintech company that you are working in. What was the major difference for you from working from in the past products that you were working in and grade that you are currently working in? So, just general challenges with working in different industries and challenges that you faced working in the same industry, like within the same industry, but on different apps or products.
Okay. So I think I start with like fintech here.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've been able to work like on fintech products that basically in the same regions. However, I think the difference usually for me is usually maybe structure of the team and structure of the team and like who's checking what, right? In relation to like compliance especially.
Okay.
So like when you begin to do like all of the work, who you are reporting to in some cases, it might be in relation to like speed of speed of the work. So sometimes in some places, the designs are checked first, right? The designs are checked first before they go into development. So all of the changes to language, in relation to language translation, will be done first, and then we show, okay, this is this is that. And other places, you have maybe after development, like first development after then you begin to like see all of these changes being made. I mean, it might not necessarily like affect me the most in this
Okay.
case because now the devs are the ones that might be going through like the stress of having to do that. But then you have to also like try it on your end and then make the change, maybe visual changes here and there.
Okay.
And then maybe in relation to customers across like different areas, I wouldn't say I've had a lot of issues, especially because the common thing that happens is usually that you do maybe you use a pattern that you use on like old products that you've worked with, right? And then when once it's reviewed, compliance will check it and be like, oh, this is not how it's supposed to be here. They drop comments on it, and then you are just generally have to change it. Typically, that is usually for maybe because of in some cases, let me say like onboarding. I could have done that a lot. Onboarding for some of the products because of the features that they have, right? The information that is required might be like more than others. And then because I'm working on a product that has like less, because I'm working on a new fintech product, I just use like all of those same requirements. And then the compliance team checks it out and be like, we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this. And then like just have to remove here and there. The only thing that does is that you begin to go back to designs that you finished before and make like less changes. But yeah, that's in that case, that's like basically it. I think like I don't have a lot of like elaborate issues because I've been doing like a lot of the work in the same industry. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
vision. I don't.
Okay. All right then. So Oladipupo has a question in the chat, and it goes thus. In the case of Gray, you mentioned that you have people who play translator roles for the different regions that you operate in. For a very early stage startup looking to consider localization but still keep a lean team, what would you suggest?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's like that's that. I think that's the perfect question. So the way around this usually, I think there are usually third party apps that help with like translation, direct translation. Even like I think in Webflow you can do localization as well, where it translates automatically. There's a beautiful name they call it, just for the fun of it, I can't remember it. But it
Okay.
does direct translation, right? And then it allows for manual change. So the way to go about this, if you have like a small team, right, is typically use all of those early translate like direct translations, automatic third party apps, and then test. That could be like sharing like the typical base link and just like getting feedback from the people who will be using like that product to ensure that um, the translation are still in the context of what you had while it was in English.
Oh,
And that
okay.
way get the feedback and make the changes and then like move on with it.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right then. Thank you very much. Oladipupo, is this clear? All right, then it's clapping. Then I guess it's clear. For me, I don't have any other questions. Does anyone have? Does anyone have any other questions? All right. In the absence of no questions, so I'll just like you to do one more thing for us, right? Um, I don't know if you guys have checked the Grey website, but when that website went live, I was like, Timothy, now cut soap for me. Like, I want to really know what's up. Like, what was the team thinking? How did you guys come up with such a grand idea, the shapes and all of that? You know, for me now, I can just make a speculation, but then I'm not in the team, so I I cannot properly understand your thought process or the reasons why you were able to go in a particular design direction. So can you just do that for us before the meeting ends? You can share your screen as well if you feel like there's some things you want to show us, you know.
Yeah. So let me just share this. I don't know about my next country with this. Alright, I'm just trying to look the page now,
All right
and
then.
then I'll share my screen.
No wahala. But then guys, if you have any more questions, you know, just go ahead and drop it in the chat so that Timothy can answer them. All right, Timothy, you have the floor.
Okay. So honestly, I would just say like this is a product of like series of iteration. Uh,
It's still loading up a bit here though. It's not particularly
yeah,
complete, the hero
yeah,
section.
yeah. Same on this end. I don't know, my network has been a bit. That's why I couldn't even present the other time as well.
Sorry.
So yeah, so for like the landing pages, like for all of the pages on this site, the initial like the, the process within the team was copy first, then design next, right?
That's interesting.
And so it was just an initial call, like all of the team that will be working on the landing page, and everybody were just like criticizing the old one and some of the things that were missing on that, because to an extent we already had in relation to like the features we had, uh, and all of the things were communicating on that other side, like we've outgrown all of that, and so the call was to be sure of what is missing, what we should add, and like the way we intend to communicate like all of these things to our customers. And I don't know, this is still loading, but one of the major things like you see across this is we started to show a lot more faces of people, and like it was one of the means or one of the approach we decided to take for communication. So this is great. We're like showing how we integrate into like lifestyle of like various users. So it's not just the typical um, app screens. It is more like a relation to the people that are using the product, and then the features that we offer to better their lives and their processing. All right. So that is one of the reasons why you see a lot of like images of people, replicas of human beings generally, just that. And the design, all of the shapes, all of that, we're just trying a lot of things. And I wish I could show you my Figma board. Like the Figma board is a mess. uh, like I am not even joking. There are about 7 other or 8 other variations of this hero section that we tried, that was presented. They had to fight. There are some I love more than this that I fought for. But this fits the case more because of the images and like what we're trying to communicate with it. So um I really don't know a lot of things I'm going to say, but one of the things we're trying to do is to cut the talk. We should not like be saying a lot of things. Although we are fighting with like the um
Content designers.
marketing people,
Okay,
yeah,
marketing.
marketing people, like, because they kind of love to say in the first they want to
Yeah.
say so. But then, like, in the process, they also understand that, okay, because of where this will be fitting, and then, like, we just make adjustments here and there, and we make sure to maintain, like, the context, as I was saying earlier. So you go here, make changes, just go straight to the features from telling us what grade does, go straight to the features that we have, and then show, show not tell. So show them like some of the parts of the app, show them parts of the screen, and some of the currencies as well. So a lot of these things, the copy was set, So in a way, we just have to be freestyling around all of the copy items. That way, we're already sure that we're communicating what we need to communicate, and then we have the freedom to do like a lot of styling, as opposed to maybe designing first and then like you be forgetting that you're supposed to communicate some things, and then you just like make it very stylish and all of that. So, same with this section. This section as well is still like the show, not tell. We're seeing like some of the things you get from like within the app, and then we're showing like illustrations and some parts of the app. You will see here like if you go through like a lot of all these things, they're just like showing the things that are on the app. And yeah, just from the landing page, you introduce like customers to this. Same with this. This is a stock page. But yeah. So one of the things we also did like during this process was like a photo shoot. If you like notice this, you see that like all of this
Yes.
like custom gear. So while we had a very short deadline for this, and like we had to work our ass out. Shout out to like everybody on my team. My can't even like was like we did like design development. It went through like 3 weeks or thereabouts. And we're just up. We're just always up to do something. Up on calls. I, Shane, Iki, Tony sometimes like feedback, but when we were doing my page stuff, she was more on like the product side, just handling every other thing. So design needs along on the product side for every sport that we're in, right? But then for the other people, we're just always having calls, and then we'll share with people within the design team before then sharing with the general team, and then we'll get feedback on fight this, fight that, and just yeah. And if you like notice, if you check like within the app, maybe post launch sometimes, you see like some things changed a bit, like that you might not notice. Those are also like the feedback of some of the things that we tried within the company and saw that it was not working. And this as well. So we had a lot of other things within Grey that we were not showing, right, on this card. So these cards were just highlighting the major ones. So we needed a way to also show all these other stuff. So we tried this out. Initially, this scrolls horizontally, but like during testing, it was too dramatic. So we had to go for the typical carousel. And yeah, so we did that to show invoicing, to show some of the bill payments, gift cards that you see within here. Like, you can always just check them out using the app when you sign up. And yeah, style here and there. So I think this idea of curve was in one of the old activations that we had. And I was like, I think we can make it work. And we picked that from there. Then we started like making adjustments here and there. Initially, some of these cards were like the typical green colored cards that people use for bento or picky. That's my like team leads. Like that's the boy. So we started like looking for ways to use like our colors, and it was clashing with this our brand refresh that we did with the logo.
Yeah.
So we picked some of the colors from there and just like try to make things work. And yeah, whilst emphasizing the black, the blue, and then doing every other thing make it work. So basically that was it. Then we tried to maintain the cutout here to form like this stuff more. I mean, like you just see this repeated across every part of the product.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
change, and yeah. Then over
Alright.
time, okay, I think it was even recently that all of these icons were added. If you can check them out. My network is a bit terrible. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Just check it out on your end and like sign up on Grey.
Alright. One more question. Somebody
Yeah.
asked in the chat section if you were the one that worked on the motion for the website.
Oh, okay. So, uh, as I said earlier, that it was a lot of people, but primarily, I'll say like 70% of the work was done by Shion. Like most of all of the complex stuff was done by Shion, while Shion's on the team as well. Shion and I, like, I don't know, we didn't really, we just do, aside from our work, we do like some motion stuff. And like he does most of that because like he already started doing them. I joined him to the company and I like picked up some parts for him as well. So we're always doing that together. But because of the work of the work, like the motion stuff I did there were like very, very minor, to be fair. all I was just doing was to ensure like layouts. While I was doing layout stuff, because in the 3 weeks I was doing layout stuff and I was doing um, layouts and design, and then bringing them to Webflow, making them responsive, and then during all of those times, she will just like sometimes come on Webflow. Like when I'm working on Webflow, it does motion. When it's on Webflow, I'm doing motion. So it's just, oh, we are active now, because Webflow doesn't allow like figure. So it's just one person at a time. So I just like picking it up, okay. And yeah, you would like see a lot of that in this. So most of the design and most of the motion stuff is done by Sean, to be fair.
Oh,
And
okay.
like it's really great. But it's like very good stuff. I can't
Okay.
lie. And you can see it, man. So
Yes.
how about him, so
All right. So now we have just 4 minutes left, but then you spoke about Webflow. Did you build this in Webflow yourself? You and
oh
Sean?
yeah, sure.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
that's that's wonderful. Because
Yeah.
this is really really great work. Um, I don't think anyone has any other questions again. If you do, we just have 4 minutes left, honestly. So we can't extend the call because this is we're not paying for Google Workspace, so we can't extend the allotted time. But then, thank you very much for coming to speak with us, Timothy. This has been very enlightening. Cause me, I was even like, you know what? I really want to know what you guys were thinking, but I will not enter your DM to ask you. You come and tell the whole world the thing that you guys drank, that made you guys to cook this very wonderful website. If anyone has any other questions, you can post it on the community, and then I'll get your questions across to Timothy, who would in turn um, send his answers. Timothy, where can we find you? Where can we follow you? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Twitter, please.
You can just type it in the chat section.
Twitter and LinkedIn. That's my Twitter and I think you just search for my name.
All right, search for his name on Google. He's on Google, guys. We are all on Google, but like he's the first Timothy Ogundipe that you will find on 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 LinkedIn, because there are other Timothys, right? There are other Timothy Ogundipes, but he's the first one that you will find. Trust me, when you see him, you know that is him. All right, then we have just 2 minutes left. Thank you guys for joining in. Again, I am Faisha Ofaloye and I am the community lead. And then there are a host of the other core team members. We have Fawaz Shobogun, we have Anis Adeyinka, and then we have Zainab Ibrahim. So these are the community leads, right? And if you have any questions, you can slide in my DM or you can slide in their DMs as well. What else do I want to say? Thank you very much, Timothy. We really appreciate you taking out of your very busy schedule to come speak to us. Bye. Have a lovely weekend and a lovely holiday. Because the holidays it choke for the coming days it choke. It's a lot. All right then. Bye.
Bye.